We begin with new details out of the EPA. Administrator Lee Zeldin says he's preparing for the largest deregulation in the agency's history. They're rescinding the 2009 endangerment finding, the rule saying vehicle emissions caused climate change. While the move does not directly target farm emissions, ag groups say it's a significant win, citing lower input costs and improved equipment reliability. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now for a closer look, so thank you for your time, Roger. And I know you've stated this is a major victory for the farm community, so let's start with some background on the finding and what it all entails.
Yeah, good to be with you, Eliza. And this is a big deal. And this was initially a proposal that was finalized as a result of the Obama administration, took effect in 2010. And it was issued under a section of the Clean Air Act that concluded that there were 6 greenhouse gases that posed a threat to health and welfare. And for nearly 2 decades, that finding served as the regulatory trigger for federal climate policy. And it mandated that the EPA regulate greenhouse gas emissions from motor vehicles and, by extension, other industrial sources. And that's where agricultural equipment would get picked up in this, too.
And like we mentioned, largest deregulation in history. That's huge. So what led to the EPA's decision to rescind the finding?
Well, of course, we had a change in administration. And then in the meantime, we've also had 2 U.S. Supreme Court opinions involving statutory interpretation and then the repeal of what was known as the Chevron doctrine. But back in 22, the EPA, I think, changed their position because the Clean Air Act was deemed in 22 to be designed to address local and regional air pollution like smog or lead, and rather than global atmospheric phenomenon. And that became known as the Major Questions Doctrine. And that was affirmed in a case that came out of West Virginia. And then in 2024, we had the Loper-Bright decision, which repealed the Chevron deference that's given to federal agencies. There's no longer a presumption that when the agency writes a rule that impacts a farmer or rancher or anybody for that reason, that they can sit there as judge and jury and determine that they did everything appropriately. The Supreme Court said, no, we got that standard wrong back in the mid-'80s. And so 40 years later, they said, no, courts make that determination, not the agency itself.
Wow. So talk to me about more how this will benefit our farmers and ranchers.
Well, I think there are probably 2 or 3 key benefits to farmers and ranchers. One, it's going to reduce equipment cost and complexity. We've had a lot of problems with respect to that, and since this rule went into place, and we've seen equipment costs. This rule has actually added tens of thousands of dollars to equipment costs and operational reliability. Modern emission systems frequently lead to limp mode errors, which can shut down tractors during critical planting or harvest season. And this finding paves the way for the repeal of these standards and will eliminate that result. So that's one. And I think also there'll be lower energy and input costs in the form of fertilizer costs as well as fuel and transportation costs. It'll have an economic impact that will lower those costs. And then finally, I think you'll see greater protection from methane and nitrous oxide regulation as a result of this. It kind of gives farmers a greater regulatory shield.
Sounds like all good news. And I heard lower input costs. I think a lot of our farmers perked up when they heard that as well.
That's
so
right.
As we wrap up, I have to ask, do you expect this move to face litigation?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure environmental groups will litigate this. They're going to say that this was just an arbitrary decision of the EPA. But given the Loper-Bright decision of the Supreme Court in 2024, that's going to be an uphill battle in challenging what the agency has done now. So we shall see. But yes, I do expect there to be legal challenges.
Well, all great insight either way. Roger, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law.